welcome to Roadcast. Ham.
What do we used to call it? Beercast?
We used to call it
the Ham Radio
Beercast.
Beercast, but it's called the Post Bucky's Debrief.
The Post Bucky Roadcast.
Oh, man.
The Post Bucky Post Ham Fest Roadcast.
Something like that.
I'm Kyle, A0Z.
I'm not Kyle.
That is Sterling, N0SSZ.
Yes, N0 SSC, as it says right here on my Yoda shirt. Yeah, we just got back from we're just going back home from Huntsville, the friendliest ham fest in the world, and it was a good time. There was a lot of people there on Saturday, at least. There's a lot of people up on the Monsanto Mountain. There was a Buc-ee's. There was a Rocket. There's another Rocket coming up. I didn't know there was another Rocket.
Oh yeah.
Are we going back to Huntsville? Or are we going the wrong way?
No, it says 84 miles to. Well, Nashville's 100 miles, so we're going north.
Right on. Well, let's figure out how to spin the camera around to look at the cool Rocket. But until we get there, what are we doing this for?
We
You're
are
making me talk on the camera.
Well,
which I never do because I'm not a YouTuber.
We're going to talk about the Ham Fest and our experiences with the Ham Fest. That's what we're going to do.
Nice.
Um,
I'm gonna fiddle with the camera while you're doing that.
Yep. So this was, I don't know, my 6th or 7th Huntsville Ham Fest, and like Sterling said, it's great. It's wow, that is a big rocket.
That's what she said.
Just out in the middle of north of Athens, Alabama, is just a rocket. You know, it's just that does not look like a Saturn V.
It kind of looks like a knockoff.
I wonder if that's like a.
I wonder if it's like a rest area that's getting put together.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, cool.
That might be it might be pre-Apollo era. Might be Mercury or Gemini. But anyway, we thought that we would collect our thoughts on the Huntsville Ham Fest experiences. Maybe talk about Ham Fest in general. Small Ham Fest, Big Ham Fest, how they compare.
Yep.
And then I'm sure that we'll talk about some contesting. And the Lego, or not the Lego, the Mario Kart, the Tetris.
Tetris. Yes.
One-on-one competition that we saw. That was great.
We'll just start off with that.
Yeah, let's
we
just
went
start
to
with
a brewery, the Yellowhammer Brewery in Huntsville. Very nice brewery. Has a lot of good lagers and everything else. I sat out there. Oh man, you know you're a ham when Digital Rancher W5 ITR has his elk antenna out there pointed to the south, pretty much directly at a bounce house that some kids are bouncing in. There's like a little festival next to this brewery to get Carlos on Parachute Mobile. And oh man, the looks that we had at that brewery is also super hot, and I was getting sunburned, so we went inside, and on the TV is a Tetris match, like the game, the do 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 do. What is the Russian do 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 do?
Yeah, right.
Do 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 do. That kind of Tetris, and
The video game Tetris.
It was just on the TV, and I was like, you know, normally people are watching baseball or football or even soccer. This was Tetris, like
So it was
two dudes playing Tetris.
Two younger kids playing head-to-head Tetris. Competitively. And I took a picture of it. If I remember, I'll put a screenshot of the picture. But that's what we need in ham radio.
Yeah.
That's where we take two competitors. Oh, now we're in Tennessee, boys and girls.
Welcome to Tennessee. I would have shown you the sign, but there was a car in the way anyway.
That's what we need in ham radio contesting, where we take two people in a 30-minute sprint, or not even a 30-minute sprint. We do 15-minute sprints.
Mm-hmm.
And we do rapid contacts over and over, and we've got a score, a run rate, because the Tetris screen not only does it have the action of you taking the bricks and putting them in the locations where you need to put them in,
mm-hmm.
but also it has a high score. It has the score that you're competing with on the other the other person's score, so they don't know their other person's score. Maybe they do. I don't know what the back end obviously looked like, but
I'd almost wonder if that's a distraction. Like, well,
right.
I'm sure they can, and you can see in their faces that it's just like, oh no, I'm getting behind. Like, your tetramino got the wrong tetramino that you wanted, and you messed up, and now you got this big stack flowing, and you're like 2,500 points behind. But I was just thinking, like, why can't ham radio be on that TV? And it turns out it wasn't like a live Tetris match. It was
from 2018.
Yeah, it was like some old recorded, Twitch TV match. And the bartender was just putting on different matches as they were going by, different Tetris matches. So I assumed she was into Tetris. But the people at the bar, at the brewery, were watching the TV as if it was like
live. It was fascinating.
And if it was the sport or the team that they were rooting for. Like there was a couple people we heard them like next to us, and they just went, oh, and I was like, what? Like somebody get a home run and you don't like the Steelers getting a home run? Or whatever. And I look up at the TV and it's Tetris, and of course one dude lost because the other guy like messed up where he put his tetramino, and yeah, it all sucked. But like, and then we started watching.
Steelers getting a home run.
Yes.
That's great.
I know that's sports ball. My wife would kill me if she heard me say that, but it's sports ball. But yeah, like, how do we do something like that to make ham radio like watchable for the masses, or even not for the masses, for our own good, our own kind? Like, it's when you get into ham radio, like as a young person, me, not being young anymore, but I'm 31, but I got into the hobby, 10, 12 years ago as a pretty young person, founded Youth on the Air in Region 2 and all that stuff. So I was completely unaware of the cool things you could do in ham radio, like contesting, like satellite operating, like DXing, like de-expeditioning, like Hamfest. And the like number one thing that gets people into a particular pursuit, hobby, vocation, whatever, is, well, first of all, they have to see it. They have to learn about it. And
yeah, they have to know something about it.
The stark majority of people who get into ham radio in the last 50 years are from their parents or from their grandparents or from their family. Quickly approaching that is scouting, like with Radio Merit Badge, and then after that, it's kind of a mix all over the place. You get some teachers like that will use ham radio to teach science in their classes. You get college clubs that are still pretty popular and have been since the 60s and 70s. Then they come and go, and like W0EEE, perfect example there, Missouri S&T. You get randoms like me who were just nerds who was tinkering with electronics when we were like, before we even knew how to speak. I had a little walkie-talkie that I could babble into, and at age 5, I was like, I would never talk to my parents if it wasn't through that walkie-talkie, and I tore it apart and broke it. I was very sad, and eventually I got FRS and CB radio and kind of stumbled my way through finding out about ham radio.
But the majority of it is somehow through proxy. Right? Someone shows you something, and either it leads directly to ham radio or it leads to a gateway to ham radio.
Right. And the best way I can imagine, I love contesting, we need to use ham radio as an e-sport and make it fun and interesting to watch. So, like Kyle said, there's going to be a little, what did we went to a ham fest or we went to a contesting convention? But no, like that's what we're trying to envision and ideate on and then actually implement. You being the Node Red guru, everyone says, like everyone's coming up to Kyle with questions and congratulations for being, being the full-time Node Red ham radio wizard. And you're just over there humble as all get up. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's people way smarter than I am that help out in the Node Red groups.
Yeah. But the fact is you do the thing, and you put it on YouTube, and that's the whole point.
I'm exposing. I'm the face. Like, I don't know how to do everything, but I know who the people are that know how to do everything in the groups I O, and I'm able to get those people to the people that know something.
Yeah, no one would know about Node Red in ham radio if it wasn't for you and putting it on YouTube, and now everyone knows about Node Red, and they want it. because it can automate and it can do remotes, it can do dashboards, it can do scoring. We can figure out how to do like scoring and stuff.
If we're gonna tailor this to like, I put together the contest dashboard, but there's so many other things that we can do to like the one-on-one, right? We split the screen and you dial into a game and you say, hey, I'm waiting for a game. Player 1 is ready for a game. Player 2 is waiting. Player 2 comes in, he's ready for the game, and the contest starts. And let's say we're contesting over CQ Worldwide Weekend, right? Where there's contacts being made on an existing contest, and we just take those contacts and put them into our own game with our own rules, and we're just using the contacts. Granted, those old fogies are going to be like, well, if you make a contact, I need to get validation on that contact for my score. You know what? Screw you. If I'm using the contacts, it doesn't matter if I make 20, 200,000 contacts. I have no obligation, unless I want a prize or want bragging rights, to submit a Carrillo file to that content sponsor.
Yeah. You're just there existing.
I'm just there giving a QSO.
By the fact that, here's the contest to facilitate that particular sub-genre of contesting or contesting within a contest. And there are good things that are contests within contests. So NAQP has, the sweepstakes actually, have a collegiate competition, which you still submit a log to sweepstakes like ARRL to get your sweepstakes credit, but there is a separate log entry where you go in and it scores all the school clubs, all the college clubs separately and with slightly different rules and multipliers and incentivizations to make it more fun and competitive for colleges to get in on there, like handicaps and things like that are things that are coming that the original say contest advisory committee wouldn't bother with changing. You saw last year with Ray, or last couple of years, I feel like all the years are blowing by, but Ray W2RE streaming his contests with flexradio, and he's winning and he's doing a good job, and you can see his whole activation, but the old fogey's got all that and banned him from doing this or that. But he also started up the conversation really well. And that's where the CQ contest category, the Explorer category that allows for live streaming, that puts you in a different scoring bracket. So, those things that they considered cheating or soliciting or self-spotting, which may or may not be true.
Finish that thought, but go back through the history of why assisted versus non-assisted, spotting versus non-spotting, or not spotting, and then why you would do that, why you wouldn't do that, and then obviously the CAC, the Contest Advisory Committee, just for the ARRL contest, created the unlimited category, I think it's called, and that's basically anything goes. You can do anything you want.
Yep.
You can get on social media and do that, but explain the assisted versus non-assisted and why the streaming thing was such a big deal.
Yeah. So back in the day, when contests were first a thing, there was no assisted or unassisted. It was just you got on a radio, you spun the dial, you heard a station, you made a contact with a station, or you called CQ and you made contacts with stations coming back. There was no spotting network. And then enter the spotting network. On Telnet and on HF and on VHF and on packet radio, they had this thing where a DX station would come online, it would go propagate through the spotting network, and someone would hear that DX station, they would log into the BBS or the packet network or the VHF packet network and say, hey, Papa Juliet 2 Tango is on the air. So everyone who's on that network got a notification that PJ2T was on the air. They could work that station, get the DX credit. That system, that spotting system, expanded, and now it works for every station. If you get on the air and somebody spots you, then you get publicized to the spotting network, and then everyone can see hey, he's on this frequency at this time, and so people can tune into that frequency, that time, work that station. It made it easier for DXers, we're strictly speaking DXers, to find the DX, so that they're not constantly spinning the band, or they so they don't lose them or miss them if they didn't hear about it. And then that started getting put into contesting. So every contester would spot, say if I worked a station, if I worked at A0Z, he was calling CQ, I would work him, and then I'd also spot him on the spotting network. And I could do that because I am not spotting myself. I'm spotting him. So I got my points. So now I'm letting everyone else know that Kyle's on this frequency at this time so that they can go where Kyle, and that really improved, increased participation and scores and rates and things like that. But then there was clearly an advantage given to those who use the spotting network to know that Kyle's on that frequency and K3LR is on that frequency. And I can just click and tune and boop, there I am, work the station, click and tune, or boop and tune directly to the next station, and so on and so forth. And so I have no time wasted scrolling through up and down the bands with a VFO. So the advantage went to the spotters.
Yep.
And then the contest committees, the CACs, the CQ, whoever makes the contest rules were like, all right, we need to nerf this and have a spotting category and an unspotting category, aka an assisted category and an unassisted category. And so now you can have unassisteds. They don't use the spotting network. They, the complainers were put at bay. The spotters, the assisted network, they use the spotting network. They mark themselves as assisted, and their scores are not comparable. Like if Kyle's working assisted and I'm working unassisted, and we both get the same scores, you can't compare it because he used the spotting network and he got stations that I probably completely missed because I'm either calling CQ or I'm rolling up and down the band and I don't know who's on where, and I just happened upon.
And the good logging programs, N1MM and others, whenever a new station pops up in your band, and it will show you where it is on that frequency that you can, click, but also it will show you in red that it's a multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're working up and down the band, you can see those multipliers pop in, and of course there's going to be a pileup, especially if it's a multiplier for you. Right. So it drastically increased the scores and the run rates, the search and pounce run rates of contesters, right?
Yeah. And it got popular, but then some people cheated using the system. They would self-spot, and that means Kyle's calling CQ, but he's also putting himself on the spotting network, and he is soliciting contacts to himself through that third-party system. That's called self-spotting. That's not allowed in any way, shape, or form on most contests. In fact, most contests will say no self-spotting is allowed. There are other contests that are. For example, like POTA. I mean, POTA is like a kind of a long-term contest, if you will. But self-spotting is encouraged because it helps the hunters and activators all, get things done in a quick amount of time rather than sitting there and calling CQ on a mountain for hours and hours and hours. You put in your spot, everyone's notified you're there. You literally, before you're even calling CQ, people are on your frequencies, putting in their call sign and ready to work you. And you run a pile up, there's your 10 contacts, and then Bob's your uncle. You can go continue on your hike rather than sitting in the, hot Alabama sun for 3 hours, still haven't gotten a CQ. But in contests, that's not allowed because that puts the self-spotter at a, competitive advantage. And the issue is like it's really, really hard to enforce because you can fake whoever, because you have in a spot, you have the DX call sign, aka Kyle. You have the spotter's call sign, me, the frequency, the time, and then a comment. And you can put whatever in whatever field. There's no authentication or authority that approves. Like I can put in, Kyle can say, AA0Z was spotted at this frequency at this time by N0SSC. And I'm like, I didn't have anything to do with that. You can just put it in there. So,
I mean, there are people that do that, but hopefully they are few and far between.
Right, and they are. And I think some people do, like, they get tired of calling CQ and they're like, no one spotted me for 3 hours. And they'd be like, oh, it won't be bad if I self-spot just once. And it's almost impossible to tell, but people have been caught. There are ways. So kind of fast forward to the modern era, and I want to live stream my contest. So if I tell anybody my frequency, even off of the spotting network, if I call my friend and say, hey, I'm on 3830, I need some QSOs, come and work me. That's solicitation, and it's part of the spotting rule, self-spotting rule. Can't do that. If you go to Facebook and you type in, I'm on 14230 calling CQ, I'll be here for 5 minutes, and you're in a contest and you're doing it for score, not allowed. And if you are live streaming your radio and it shows your frequency and it shows all of that information.
This is the biggest one.
That is apparently, sadly, soliciting contacts through a third-party system, aka self-spotting. Because somebody comes on your YouTube stream, they see your frequency, they tune to that frequency, they work you, and let's say they don't even work anybody else in the state in the contest except you. You're clearly getting a bunch more points that wouldn't have existed if you weren't streaming on your platform with your frequency up. So people have kind of like, they'll block your frequency out or whatever, but it's still, there's a lot of debate about, even if you don't show your frequency or your band or anything having to do with your radio, that the fact you exist and you're streaming and you're causing popularity outside of ham radio is still soliciting people to come in and like work you. They will, because you can still do spotting. Somebody watching YouTube will be in the assisted category. They'll go on the spotting network and they'll specifically look for your call sign, AA0Z calling CQ on 14230, in front of the slow scan TVers for some reason. I don't know why you'd be on that frequency, but but because they want to hear their own calls, they want to be part of your stream. They want to, they're your fanboys, they're your roadies, whatever they call them. The debate is that puts a competitive or an unfair advantage to people who stream. So the answer to all of that was, for now, the easy answer was to open up new categories in the contest logging scoring rule set. So you have, we mentioned unassisted, you have assisted, you have categories like rookie, tri-band wires. What else is there? There's a bunch of categories, and then you have like multi-2, multi-multi, single low power, QRP, a whole bunch of different categories, and then these new categories which are like Explorer or Unlimited or what else? I think Explorer and Unlimited are the big ones where the rules kind of don't matter. Like you can still submit your score or submit your log, you'll get a score, but you'll be in that category. So you can't say that your score, even if you make 1 million points over the next one and you would get number one worldwide, you would get an award, but for that category. You would get an award in a limited category, but it doesn't mean as much as an award in 40 meter, single band, single operator, QRP, first in the world overall from doing just that. There's, I guess, what am I trying to say? Like I'll stop rambling for a while. I need to take a drink.
It's become a problem where technology has advanced to the point where now you've got younger contesters who want to stream, who have friends on Twitch that are streaming games, and ham radio is their game. So they want to stream a contest. Well, now there's all of these rules that until a year ago, you couldn't do any of those things. Well, where does it come where I want to work assisted, but I still want to stream? Mm-hmm. And then we also have this other issue where, okay, I want to stream my contest, but now I have to block out all of the 4 places on the screen that show my frequency. And now I have, not only am I trying to stream, but I'm contesting, I'm streaming, and I'm making sure that I'm not sending out my frequency or any information that would invalidate my contest to the people who judge it, right? Mm-hmm. So not only is it things like this should come, technology should make things easier, not harder.
Right.
And every time that I get on a contest, I mean, the first thing is, one, I only stream ARRL contests that I can enter the unlimited category or the Explorer category where I don't have to think about it. It limits me. I would love to set in my streaming location and in my shack and stream every contest that I do, but I just can't because the rules do not allow me to do that. Because there is no Explorer category or Unlimited category, or I'm just deathly scared of throwing up all of the things that I have on my screen and somebody looking at that and calling me out, and then I've got an issue on my hands with the contest sponsors.
Yeah, and the contest sponsors, you have the big ones like ARRL and CQ Magazine. They're the largest ones, but then you have the little guys that do QSO parties. You have everyone and their grandpa like can come up with a contest and then put it out, but there's no universal rules.
Yeah, that's the problem
for contesting. So like Missouri QSO Party is one example. We do a lot, and I forget this. I think you can do self-spotting.
Yeah, you can.
And it's totally fine. But a different QSO party, like for Illinois, for example, I don't know if the rules are different or whatever, but
you just
for the case of example, say self-spotting is not allowed, but like, why not? Like, I want to go out into the woods and do my stream and have like this ESPN 73 idea, and I want like all these video streams that I can use to switch and provide commentary and say that like, A0Z's on this frequency or on this band, like, are you sure that's a good idea? Because, we got the gray line coming. We really want to set up a frequency that is going to set up a frequency on 40 meters. It's going to work real well into South America, blah, blah, have that color commentary. And we have to know like exactly what frequency or what band and what their strategy is, and we can use that, right? But you can't, because you got to go to their contest sponsor. You got to say, hey, can we allow spotting? Can we allow live streaming? Can we do this? Can we do that? And they're like, no, this is what we've been doing for 37 years, and it's not going to change, and never has changed, and it's been just fine. Well, okay, then I won't operate that contest, I guess. Like, I mean, you can still submit a check log, which is,
that's no fun.
It's no fun. There's no competition in it.
Well, and then it will get to a point, we were talking about this before we started the camera, where another another idea, a paradigm shift will happen where people will make their own contests. And just like the Tetris, right? You had two people sitting in their bedroom going at it head to head with Tetris. Well, what if we took that mentality and we created our own 15-minute sprints? And we created our own rules around these 15-minute sprints, and we did whatever we wanted to do, right? We were not bound by the contest rules that were invoked 40 years ago, and we streamed our stuff on the web on the same weekend as some of these bigger contests, and just used the cues and the contacts from that contest for our contest.
Right. So think of it like multiplayer matchmaking. You sit in a lobby, a set of rules gets made by some magic AI. Kyle codes up in Node-RED. Because it's a limited set. Like, it's not, you're not going to have like 10,000 people, but say you got like 10 stations, ready to contest an HF. They get match made.
And it's like a bracket tile tournament style.
And so you have to work those stations. If you work the stations that are in the competition, that's a bonus. But if you work, I don't know, there could be any kind of number of different rules per contest or per event. Like, think of it like in multiplayer gaming, you have like deathmatch, every man for themselves, capture the flag, red versus blue, 5 versus 5. This, there's all kinds of different categories and ways to skin the cat.
What you could do is just have 8 people, right? It's got an 8-person bracket, and then as the time ticks, you get 10 minutes for round 1, and if you don't make a certain amount of QSOs in that 10 rounds, then it goes down to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And those 2 people drop out, and then as it gets whittled down to 1-on-1, then that round lasts 30 minutes or something, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And because we can't, I don't think we can, maybe we could, but we can't just come up with all of that contest excitement for that one little thing. That's why we want to use existing contests. And I'm sure it'll ruffle feathers, like you were saying.
Oh, yeah.
We can always submit check logs, and that's fine, but
But you know what would really ruffle the feathers is, so let's say just an arbitrary number, there's 5,000 people that compete in Seeker Worldwide, okay? Once you create this new contest and it's more fun than the original contest, and now you've got 2,501 people that are submitting logs for your contest versus the other contest, that's whenever shit will hit the fan.
Yeah. Why do I have 10,000 check logs?
Right.
You know, they're going to be sad that their contest is dying because our sub contest is so much more popular.
Right.
Because it'll be more fun. It'll be easy to get on. You know. Anyway, before your camera dies, you want to talk about Huntsville?